Baseball isn't just numbers, numbers, numbers.
This game is not being played on computers.
You don't do that with a bunch of statistical gimmicks.
You don't put a team together with a computer.
We're talking weighted runs created plus,
expected WOBA,
his sweet spot rate,
defensive runs above average,
average exit velocity,
barrel rate,
xFIP,
BABIP,
SIERA.
We are above replacement radio. And welcome to Above Replacement Radio, where we're talking baseball kind of whenever. I'm your host, Chris Gianta. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, I'm doing very well today. It is July 28th as we are recording this, 9:51 p.m. Eastern Time. We are a little less than, 72 hours away now from the trade deadline. The biggest trade of the deadline already happened. It was Rafael Devers. I don't think that's going to be topped unless, of course, something crazy happens. But we've had a couple trades happen so far. We had one small one today, an in-division trade. But we got two others to talk about. We got Josh Naylor heading north, and we got Ryan McMahon heading east.
Yes, indeed. Josh Naylor, who only spent 4 months with Arizona after spending decent amount of time in Cleveland. He was traded from the Arizona Diamondbacks to the Seattle Mariners. Not much of a price tag on him, considering he is a free agent after 2025. But he was traded for Ashton Izzy and Brandon Garcia. What did you think about this move?
Yeah, this was, I think, a pretty necessary trade for the Diamondbacks. They ranked 19th in first base FWAR this year. So it's definitely, maybe not the biggest position of need, but certainly one where they can improve. Obviously, when you think about the Mariners, and this hasn't been the case for a lot of this year, but it's the offense that needs to be there, right? The pitching we know is going to be there. The bullpen has been a really solid unit all around this year with several different guys. The lineup is where you really need to see that consistency 1 through 9. And certainly there were some holes. Unfortunately, Luke Raley hasn't exactly been cutting it at first. His OPS, his weighted runs created plus is like around the league average mark. Josh Naylor is obviously a guy they're hoping to see a little bit more out of in that department. And that's where they decided to go. I don't think this is not a bad move, but it can't be the move for this team, I think.
Yeah, right. I mean, it is tough when you are a team in Major League Baseball at the trade deadline who needs offense, because those options are far less abundant. Usually it's, lots of pitchers moving at the deadline. And of course, that's because, if you're a team and you have some really good pitching, adding one more doesn't even cause an issue. You just have, one more starter in the tank, one more bullpen, one more reliever in the tank. Whereas, if you, no matter how good or bad your offense is, if you have a really good third baseman, you're probably not going to trade for a third baseman unless one of them is, willing to move positions and whatnot. So it takes away some of the flexibility if you're like the Mariners and you're in need of offense. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what else goes out there. It's definitely a step in the right direction. It's an improvement at first base. And yeah, I could go into Josh Naylor a little bit more, because what we've seen out of him is just, huge consistency. And, obviously there's been a lot of hitters who have been consistent, who have hit Seattle, and then that consistency goes completely away, probably because of the ballpark or whatever environment is over there. But he's had a 115 OPS plus or higher each of the last 4 years, including this year. And he's one of only 16 batters in Major League Baseball to have 350 plus plate appearances and an OPS plus of at least 115 each of the last 4 years, including this year. And, the company he's in is, I'm not going to list off all 15 others, but the company he's in is very good company. It's mostly some of the better hitters in the game. So, that's just the consistency that Josh Naylor has shown. He hasn't shown the ability necessarily to be, one of the top sluggers in the game, but he's always been, consistently above average at the plate.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been pretty interested in like the distribution of power stuff this year. He's pulling 37% of his fly balls, which is actually a career high for him. However, he's also barreling 18% of his fly balls, which is his lowest rate since 2020. Um, Obviously, you want to do both as much as possible. Pulling is probably the more important one when you have, well, actually, barreling is probably the more important one, but when you have the kind of power Josh Naylor has, where it's uh, at the very least league average, maybe a tad bit below league average, but it's certainly passable enough to where if you pull the ball enough, good things will happen. Obviously, he hit 31 home runs. Oddly enough, got a higher OPS this season uh, despite only hitting 11 home runs so far this year. The slugging percentage is a bit lower, but the on base percentage has been very impressive, 9.4. That comes largely with a higher batting average because the walk rate's been relatively similar, but definitely want to see more power out of him for sure. I think that's where he's been lacking so far. So, if the Mariners can unlock some power out of him, that would be, I think, kind of why they made this move. But that's really it remains to be seen if they're able to do that.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. Like it's just observing his stats. He's been two different hitters like since 2023. So or even he's kind of flip-flopped like even in odd years. 2020 2023 or 2022 maybe a little bit more power and lower batting average. Then in 2023 he hit 308, but only 17 home runs. And then in 2024, his batting average dropped quite a bit. It was 243, but he hit 31 home runs, and maybe some lack of luck had a little bit to do with that. His BABIP did decrease quite a bit. But this year, in terms of just overall production, OPS and OPS plus, it is higher despite the lack of power. And maybe in a park where, you know, maybe in a park where home runs are a little bit harder to get. Maybe that's what the Mariners kind of need. Although they are very much a pulled fly ball team.
Yes.
If they can have a guy who's going to hit a lot of line drives, and get on base frequently, that can also help them out.
Yeah, the Mariners' pulled air rate as a team is 18.8%, the ninth highest in the league, actually right behind the Diamondbacks. Obviously, the ballpark is definitely a little less favorable for hitters than pretty much any other ballpark, right? But especially at Chase Field. I am curious what Naylor's home and road splits looked like this year. Um, just off the eye test, I feel like most of the highlights I've seen from him this year are at home. I could be totally wrong on that. No, I am actually right. 855 OPS at home, 744 on the road. Um, Obviously, you'd probably want him to be in like the 770 range, I'd say, if you're the Mariners. Just upgrade over what you had before. You don't need him to be a big power hitter. You have that with Cal Raleigh. Julio Rodriguez has been fantastic in the second half. There's obviously, Randy Arozarena been great over the last month and a half. He's just kind of another bat you need to be solid in that lineup, and maybe you go get Eugenio Suarez. Maybe there's something else coming, but uh, there's not a ton of pressure for Naylor to play a huge role. He's had some postseason moments before, which is definitely good. But yeah, I'm it's a fine move. It is a fine move. It's good. The Diamondbacks, are selling a guy that's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. It's fine. It makes sense for everybody.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. To maybe go back to the consistency aspect of Josh Naylor, I talked about the on the surface stuff being consistent, but also the under the surface stuff, at least in terms of general how hard he's hitting the ball and what his expected numbers are. Those have been very consistent as well. His average exit velocity has been in the 89s for 4 straight years, and his expected WOBA has been between 64th and 74th percentile each of the last 4 years, including this year. So that's you kind of know what to expect. Obviously, with the Mariners, they can be the exception. We've seen that with Teoscar Hernandez and Adrian Beltre way back in the day, and some other players. But with Josh Naylor up to this point, we've seen a huge consistency that the Mariners offense is not necessarily used to.
The Mariners, if I recall correctly, this is a team that at least in recent years, strikes out a decent amount. They're ninth highest in strikeout rate this year, tied for eighth highest, I should say. Naylor's obviously a guy that doesn't strike out a lot, never really has been. It's 13.1% this year, which is his lowest in basically a full season. The only other season where he was lower was 2020, in which he saw 380 total pitches, like not a full season by any means. So that's definitely somewhere where I think the Angels will be benefiting is the more contact, obviously, and even if he raised that a little bit even if you were to raise that 5% to try and go for more power, it's still only an 18% rate. That's very good. They have a 25% strikeout rate from the first base position this year, so pretty much anything they get from him is going to be an upgrade contact-wise, and if he can mix in more power, that would also be beneficial.
It would be interesting. I mean, the game of what you sacrifice to get better results is always such a balancing act. I mean, not that I really have any perspective on it, but he was more, he definitely had more power last year. He hit 31 home runs. He had a career high in home runs, career high in ISO. But his OPS plus was better the year before and the year after. So I don't know, and his strikeout rate did increase last year, went from 13.7% in 2023 to 16.6% in 2024. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if Seattle kind of changes him for that. If they try to fix something with that, or try to figure out the balancing act of getting more power without more strikeouts. We'll see about it. But yeah, did you have anything more on the Josh Naylor trade?
I think that was probably all I had on that one.
Yeah, so the Yankees went out. They got themselves a third baseman, which actually it did bring me back to the question that you asked for the Yankees in our AL East preview. I believe your question was who will start the most games at third base. I think I said Oswald Peraza, and I don't know how far off I am, but
currently it is Oswald Peraza at 39 games.
well, that sucks that Ryan McMahon's
probably
going to blow through that.
Ryan McMahon will probably be surpassing him. How could you not have foreseen that? What a crazy correct guess that could have been, assuming that he does do it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Who knows? Peraza had a 13 weighted runs created plus at third base this year, or has, I should say.
Whoa, wow. So hence why the Yankees went out and tried to get a third baseman, which they did. They got Ryan McMahon. They got him not only for this year, but I believe 2 more years after this year.
Yeah.
Or at least that's how the team control lines up. What did you think about this move?
This one was very interesting to me. I don't necessarily blame the Yankees for doing this one, and I'll get to why in a second, but I do think there's a very good possibility that maybe beyond this year, when you look at a 2026 and 27, this might be one where they look back and say, I wish we had a better option, something like that. Right now, the Yankees rank 24th among F4 from third baseman. They have an 87 weighted runs created plus from third baseman. It's definitely a position where they get an upgrade, and they're definitely going to get that defensively. No question about that. Ryan McMahon, top 10 percentile outs above average defender for each of the last 4 years now. He's 91st percentile this year. The Yankees have a -6 outs above average at third base this year. So without a shadow of a doubt, you are absolutely getting a defensive upgrade here. And if that to them is worth the entire deal, then great job. You did something here. The offense is where the questions are, and I think the lazy analysis that people have is going to be, oh, well, he's leaving Coors, but he is going to come to the Bronx, and he's a lefty. He's got the short porch, and sure, he will benefit from that sometimes, but that's just not really his profile. Ryan McMahon has pulled 22% of his fly balls this year, which is about 4% less than the league average. In turn, he's obviously hitting 38% of his fly balls to the opposite field and 38% straight away. Both of these slightly above league average, not too far up there, but he's going to one of the worst venues to do that. There have been, Chris, 135 fly balls hit to the opposite field by a lefty at Yankee Stadium so far this year. Do you want to guess how many of those 135 have been home runs?
Um, to what direction of the park?
Opposite field, fly ball by a left-handed batter, which means it's going to left field. There's been
So
135 of them at Yankee Stadium this year.
so considering MLB averages, I don't know, maybe 9.
One.
One.
One. There has been one home run hit this year at Yankee Stadium, opposite field by a lefty. It was Austin Wells the first weekend of the season against Nestor Cortez during the game where the Yankees scored like 20 runs against the Brewers and everyone was freaking out about the torpedo bats. It's been since March that anyone, Yankee or opponent, has done this. Ryan McMahon hits 38% of his fly balls to the opposite field, and fly balls to the opposite field go to die in Yankee Stadium if you're lefty. If you're righty, it's great. If you're lefty, sucks. Don't do that. Center field is not much better. Only 6.1% of fly balls by lefties straight away get hit as home runs. I think that's like the 5th or 6th lowest of any ballpark this year. Daikin Park hasn't had any, which I found out in my research, which I thought was quite interesting. The effects of Yordan Alvarez being out for the majority of the year with a hand issue. But the Yankees are going to need to find a way to get him to pull the ball more. That's just simply what it is. And they've done it before. They literally did this last year somewhere. Before he got traded over to the Yankees, he had pulled 30% of his fly balls that year with the Marlins. He got traded to the Yankees, and he pulled 53% of his fly balls the rest of the year and had a OPS plus in the 130s. So that's really what this Ryan McMahon trade hinges on in terms of offense for the Yankees is can they get him to pull the ball? If they can't, they're going to have a very bad time with him on offense. Defensively, however, it will be an upgrade.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been one of the best defenders at the position for a while. I believe may have or no, does not have a gold glove, but I remember there was controversy of him
That's
maybe
just
deserving
Ryan Hayes
Yeah,
and Nolan Arenado.
yeah, I think there was controversy one year, like maybe he deserved it over Arenado, but Arenado obviously had the bigger name, so he got it. Um, but yeah, has always been in the Gold Glove conversation. I'm sure has some finalist markers to go off of. But yeah, like it is, sometimes the lazy take is like he's a lefty and he's going to Yankee Stadium, it's gonna work out. Yeah, I mean sometimes guys just don't pull the ball. Honestly, with Juan Soto, he had a great year last year, but it could have been even better if he was at a different ballpark because he hits a lot to left center field, which does not work in Yankee Stadium. To go into what the Yankees gave up, nothing really pops off the page, but considering that they did get a guy with 2.5 years of control, they did have to give up some pieces. So they gave up Josh Gross, who is an 11th rounder from the 2023 MLB draft out of East Carolina. The one that is probably the most relevant is Griffin Herring, who is a 6th rounder from the 2024 MLB draft out of LSU. In the minors this year, he had he has a 1.71 ERA and 2.90 FIP, and also a 28.5% strikeout rate. So if you hear that name in a few years, that's where he came from. So maybe someone to look out for, who knows? But he will probably, given his ETAs in 2028, Ryan McMahon probably won't be on the Yankees by the time he comes up for the Rockies. But yeah, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But I should go into what did where did the
Home run
Yankees
splits.
rank among third basemen for this year, like team stats?
I believe it was 24th in 4.
Let us see.
I think I
You are
mentioned
correct in that assessment, and it
Yep.
honestly,
I'm pretty sure I mentioned it like 10 minutes ago.
yeah, my bad.
Yeah, you're good.
But and that might be inflated by McMahon because I believe he has a 1200 OPS in 2 games. So
Oh, huge.
when did
Huge. You're right.
when did this trade happen?
And blended together for me. I did the same thing every day. I think it was Saturday.
Okay, so let's look through July 25th. The Yankees had
I love how you say inflated. I think it's literally 0.1 F4. It's 0.2 F4. They had .5 F4 at the time at third base.
It was still 24th.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
right. But yeah, so obviously and you know, the teams below them are not really contenders outside of the Cubs. It went Marlins, White Sox, Reds. I guess Reds are contenders, but Athletics, Cubs, and Angels. Um, but yeah, you wanna upgrade your positions when you can, and the Yankees are kind of sliding. They have been for a couple months now. So some reinforcement could help them out. Anything more in the McMahon trade?
Yeah, I mean, I do think this was objectively probably the correct move for the Yankees. I know that like the fan base probably wanted Eugenio Suarez. I just don't see a path to where they would have gotten that to happen if the Mariners wanted him. I think if the Mariners truly want Eugenio Suarez, he's theirs, and we'll get more into that. Uh, but it's the same thing that how I assessed the Kyle Tucker trade last summer. The Yankees don't have a particularly good farm system. They've had some development from some guys this year, whether it be Spencer Jones, whether it be George Lombard, a couple others, but it does not stack up with the Mariners in any way. And if the Mariners truly want Eugenio Suarez, I just don't see a path to where the Yankees can put together the best offer. Uh, and I think knowing that, they just decided let's get McMahon now instead of waiting for Eugenio Suarez so that we don't end up with nothing. I think that was probably the way that they assessed it. They're playing it safe, and I kind of respect that for sure. But I mean, as the second best third base option that was out there, it's definitely not the most flashy move.
Yeah, definitely not. It's not necessarily a game changer that you're adding to the lineup. It's just kind of a general improvement. Whereas Suarez, I mean, obviously he's hit, over 30 home runs already this year. He's on pace for probably around 50. So he could be a major have a major effect on whatever roster he ends up going to. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess that could segue into yeah, what's going on with the trade deadline?
Yeah.
It feels like, and this is a sidetrack, but like every trade deadline since kind of
2021.
2021 and then 2022 has just felt so bland.
Like, man,
because
this deadline sucks. It's like actually this is the normal deadline.
yeah, and like mind you, 2022 actually felt kind of bland, even though it was actually a very, star-studded trade deadline. It was Juan
Because like that's
Soto.
because the big move happened on like July 27th though. Like that always people kind of forget about that. People always think about the trade deadline as July 31st, and it's like how much chaos is there on that day. 2021 had that. 2021 had like everything happen within the last like 2 hours, if I remember that one correctly.
Yeah,
Like
no, it
Bryant
was
going,
absurd.
Baez going, like everything happened seemingly in those couple of hours. 22, the big one was the Soto trade that happened a few days earlier.
Like it feels like every major roster move can be associated with the 2021 trade deadline.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, right. I mean, the big move at this deadline happened on June 15th.
Right. Yeah.
Like
Which
if the Devers trade happened today, people would be like, "Oh my God, this is the craziest trade deadline of all time. This is wild." And it's
which
like, well,
for the history people, that used to be the trade. June 15 used to be the actual trade deadline.
that is true.
Back in like not anytime recently. It was
No,
way back. It was like in the Tom
not
Seaver
in
times.
not in our lifetime.
No, 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 no. But Tom Seaver, I think his controversial trade to Cincinnati happened on June 15. Um, but but yeah, but kind of a funny note on that. But yeah, like, and then 2022, yeah, Soto happened, and then also Luis Castillo, that was a big deal.
Yep,
Um, I don't know if
remember
we
that
have
one.
any Luis Castillo types really on the move this time around, but yeah,
Definitely, well, yeah, because he had, I guess, like Joe Ryan, if he's even
yeah,
available, but I don't even know if he's available.
yeah, we don't know. That's another tricky
That's
thing
probably
is
the closest. That's probably the closest you're getting, because all the pitchers that are available are rentals.
right, yeah, for sure. Like Castillo at least had, I think, a year and a half in control, and then obviously got extended. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, what are your what are you kind of looking, what are you focused on most heading into this trade deadline?
Well, naturally, I think the focus is with Eugenio Suarez. Obviously, this is a guy that I've been hyping up quite a lot for about a year now. I've had him as the number 6 third baseman in baseball, and that actually turned out to be like not good enough. I think he's second among all third basemen in F4 this season. So, but he is a rental. He pulls the ball like 50% of the time on fly balls. That will play anywhere. Like I said, I think Seattle's the destination that makes the most sense and is the most likely if they truly want him. That team has one of the better farm systems in baseball. I think if they really truly want him, he should be theirs. Maybe like Detroit could be a challenger for them. They have like Zach McKinstry as a third baseman who was an all-star, but I feel like they'd probably feel safer with Suarez as their third baseman going into a playoff run than McKinstry, and then he can kind of play wherever. He's more super utility than anything. And those are definitely the top two, but I think Seattle is going to have a lot more of a will in this one. It's Jerry Dipoto. They've had the player before. The only reason they traded him was to save money. They traded him for Josh Rojas, and I forget who the other person was. I feel like it was like a backup catcher or something. Didn't really make much sense, but it was, or he had ups and downs there, but ultimately the only reason why he left had really nothing to do with him and had more to do with the TV deal fallouts.
Right. It was some sort of salary issue, most likely. Yeah, like talking about the fit with the Tigers, McKinstry's played 58 games at third base, but by the math of it, 39 games at other places like right field, left field, shortstop. Like he can find, he's flexible, and that's a great asset for the Tigers to have. Because he's been very good this year, but he can play a lot of different positions, which is also great.
Look at the power hitters that the Tigers have. It's Kerry Carpenter and Riley Green are the two main ones. Torkelson's kind of cooled off a little bit, but Kerry Carpenter's always hurt. You unfortunately can't really rely on him to be healthy in October, 2 months in advance. Riley Green's been in a slump for a few weeks now. Eugenio Suarez would probably be the most stable bat in that lineup. You could probably argue at this point, maybe Gleyber Torres, but even then, I would still take Suarez in between the two of them.
Yeah. Looking at Eugenio Suarez this year, he does have slight reverse splits this year, but for his career, he does hit lefties better. And it does make me curious when you mentioned the Tigers, where they rank as a team against left-handed pitchers, because like Green, I don't think.
Well, AJ Hinch does a lot of trickery with their lineup.
Oh yeah,
Riley, Kerry Carpenter just doesn't play against lefties.
Yeah, right. But whoever they're subbing in for him is probably not as good as he would be against a right-hander.
I'm looking that up right now. The Tigers have a 110 weighted runs created plus against lefties, the fifth highest in the league.
Oh, that's not bad.
It is not bad, and they have a 102 against righties.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
I only mentioned the Mariners and the Tigers because those are the two teams that have, I think, the best farm systems and are capable of giving Arizona the best returns. In a potential trade. Like the Yankees, I just don't see as able to realistically put together a better package than those two teams. The Cubs also have the possibility to do that, although Matt Shaw has been hit as of late. So do they want to commit to him at third? Because that's really the only place Suarez can go, because they have Michael Busch at first. They have Seiya Suzuki at DH. If Suarez is going to go somewhere, it's going to be third. And Matt Shaw is probably going to have to be kicked out of the lineup.
Yeah, on Fangraphs, they have Detroit's farm system as fifth most valuable in baseball. They have Seattle's as ninth most valuable. Meanwhile, the Yankees, it looks like the bottom 12-ish, or middle of the pack toward the bottom. So yeah, the Tigers and Mariners obviously might have more to offer. And not that the Yankees are going to make a move now, but in terms of hypothetically, would it make sense? By their estimations, it probably wouldn't have. Eugenio Suarez is probably the biggest mover. People like to talk about pitchers and how much of an impact they have on on winning championships and stuff like that. But a lot of the most recent champions, led the league in runs scored, led the league in OPS, stuff like that. Look at the Dodgers last year. Their pitching stats weren't great, but their team offense was really, really good. So he could end up Suarez could end up being one of the more impactful players to be traded at a deadline. But yeah, did you have any thoughts? Any more thoughts on Suarez or other players?
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be, I think, one of those two. And by the way, Josh Naylor just homered for the Mariners on a fly ball to right field
Oh, very nice.
in
Look at him go.
Sacramento. Yeah, so it was pulled, like I said.
It was pulled, unless, of course, he decided on a whim to be a switch hitter.
Yeah, unless of course
Which
he
for
pulled
the
an
longest
Anthony Rendon. I
for the
wonder if it
longest
was
time,
barreled.
I thought he was a switch hitter, and
He is the five. It was also it
yeah,
was barreled, home run in 30 out of 30 ballparks. Yeah, he
very
crushed
nice.
crushed a ball off of JP Sears. Lefty lefty. How about that?
Yeah, very good.
Good sign.
Good sign. Good sign for sure.
I do want to talk about some of the pitchers on the market. It's largely rentals, right? It's Zach Gallen, it's Merrill Kelly, it's Dylan Cease. Maybe in terms of non-rentals, an Edward Cabrera, maybe a Mitch Keller, who is, already extended. Where do you evaluate the location of these pitchers?
Yeah,
The big ones at least.
it's interesting. Like I feel like the Dodgers, no matter what, are always going to
Mhm.
be in the market for whatever
But
reason.
the big ones are all in division.
Yeah,
Does
true.
that matter to San? I feel like it matters to San Diego, maybe not as much to Arizona. Because
Yeah, right.
the Padres might trade Dylan Cease. They're not like, it doesn't mean they're selling.
Yeah,
The
right.
Diamondbacks, when they trade Gallen and when they trade Kelly, they are selling. Like there's a difference.
Yes. Yeah, indeed, indeed. Um, yeah, it's interesting. Um, I'm kind of curious to see what the price tags are on some of these guys. Like Zach Gallen, for example, for me is someone who I'm really intrigued by because he's really been struggling as of late. He hasn't really been clicking um, like he hasn't been clicking like we're used to from him um, this entire year. But teams might kind of buy into his reputation, and his strikeout and walk numbers aren't really atrocious. It's a lot of home run issues for him. So maybe teams might look at his ability to remain striking batters out, not walking batters, to a crazy degree. And value that, but I'm curious if the Diamondbacks are going to get much out of him, considering how poorly he's done this year. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm trying to see who might be, seeking out some of the talent. Maybe the Astros might be looking out for some more
Mhm.
depth. They
Oh,
got
they need, dude. Everyone on that team is hurt.
yeah.
They have, I think, like 18 guys on the IL. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. They have 15 guys from the major league roster on the IL right now. And it's
Yeah.
a close to even split between position players and pitchers. It's 7 position players, 8 pitchers.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not great.
no.
Like you look at some of the some of the some of the starters they've relied upon in past postseason runs, and they're just not available. Christian Javier got Tommy John surgery in
Hmm.
June of 2024. I don't imagine he's set to return anytime this year, or at least have any serious role anytime this year. Lance McCullers has been out. Luis Garcia got Tommy John surgery in 2023. I don't know when he's supposed to come back. Ronel Blanco recently got Tommy John surgery. He was one of the starters they relied upon last year. So right now, like Hunter Brown and Framber Valdez are rock solid, but beyond that, it
Yeah.
is
I'm
three
looking at it
question
right
marks.
now. What a staff. What a group of names.
Yeah, you got Jason Alexander from NBC's Seinfeld. You got Colton Gordon and then Ryan Gusto. It's an interesting
Yeah,
cast of
and
characters for sure.
I know that like Spencer Arrighetti, my player to watch from this year, is making rehab starts right now. But even then, like you can't, for a guy that was a rookie last year, like they would be, I still think they need to go out and get somebody regardless, because you're gonna look at Spencer Arrighetti then as a guy to essentially carry the weight of a lot of the guys that are injured and be like a rock solid three. Like that does feel like a lot to ask for a guy coming off of a thumb injury and also, only in his second big league season, and a guy that, not to mention, I don't even know if has he pitched this year? He pitched 2 games this year.
Yeah, it said his
Yeah.
injury date was April 7.
Mhm.
But I guess pulling it back a little bit, it goes back into a problem um that we've seen with the Astros and maybe their lack of ability to develop, and also just trading away a lot of their, future pieces for previous deadlines or um previous entities. According to Fangraphs, they have the worst farm system in baseball.
Mhm.
So it'll be a lot harder for them to put a good package together than say another team. And at this point, like, you know, it seemed like they've been at the end of their window for a couple of years now, but we really never know.
You
They've been
can.
consistently good. So I don't know if you put all chips in for this year, but I'll be interested to see how the Astros approach it, because they obviously want a winning product for this year, but they want some sustainability for the future as well.
I'm looking at some like smaller name starters that might be available. Zach Littell from the Rays is a free agent to be. The Rays are like hovering 500. They've played some pretty rough ball in the recent weeks. Like that's a name that I could see being available at a cheaper price. Adrian Hauser has had some good starts for the White Sox. The
Yeah,
White Sox,
people
it's like the White Sox won like $7 on a lottery ticket, and they're gonna cash that in. Like that's what Adrian Hauser is.
people have been getting housed for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. Um, I don't think
But
the Angels are gonna make anyone available, right? Like I get Tyler Anderson, maybe he is a free agent to be.
yeah,
I don't think Kyle Hendricks is going at the deadline.
I think you make a good point there in that they're probably going to have to go for,
Hmm.
some version of a project, like some established
Yeah,
guy, but not.
I guess
I
it really depends on what kind of competition there is for the Ceases and the Gallons and the Kellys of the world.
right. I think, like, I mean, Gallon, I think maybe the Diamondbacks don't have as much leverage, but with the Padres, with them giving up Cease, I feel like they would have to have a pretty hefty package, considering they don't even know if they want to trade him. And they're still, very much in the playoff race. So, you know, I guess luckily for the Astros there, maybe they wouldn't ask for too much farm system talent, and maybe ask for more major league talent with more
Hmm.
control.
I think you have to, because they got some guys like that are at least somewhat interesting, whether it be like Zach DeZenzo, Shea Whitcomb,
Mm.
like Bryce Matthews just made his major league debut. I know he was their top organizational prospect, but that's in a system that's not particularly good. Um, I don't think like I don't know. I don't know if I see the Astros doing rentals though. Like the focus this year, I think very clearly has been okay. Like it's not necessarily World Series or bust this year the same way that it has been in other years, right? It was the first year without Bregman. It was the first year without Tucker. They've lost Jordan for the majority of the year, and who knows, if he'll be back for the playoffs, at what percent of health he'll be at, what that's going to look like. Altuve is, in his aging years. Like I think the Astros are probably going for control more than anything. Uh, so I don't know if that's necessarily a route that they're going to go down. Like how much is it worth trading for a guy that's only going to be on the team this year, which is maybe not the strongest team you're putting out. They could be like maybe a team in the Edward Cabrera running, like something like that. Like that's if there's a route, that's where I could see them going down. We didn't even mention Sandy Alcantara, by the way, who like I feel like we've heard nothing about.
Yeah, maybe the Marlins have been forced into your theory about them with the what was it?
Well, I don't know. He
I
also
forgot the
has a
term.
6.66 ERA.
Yeah,
Could be
well,
that
well,
too.
what I'm saying is that the Marlins
Yes.
have been
Yep.
forced to go by that. There's really no benefit in trading him right now.
Hmm. Well,
Um,
my theory on Sandy Alcantara was that the Marlins were going to keep him so that they still have a $17 million salary for next year on the books when they're facing a grievance from the PA for not spending enough, because he's
mhm.
like really their only money on the roster right now.
Right, right.
Like it's literally the only guaranteed contracts are him and for this year are him and Cal Quantrill, who is making $3.5 million this year as a free agent next year. Jesus Sanchez made $4.5 million in ARB1 this year, but they're probably going to trade him. Edward Cabrera's made $1.9 million in ARB1 this year, but they're probably going to trade him. The only other guys that are ARB eligible next year on this team are Calvin Faucher, Ryan Weathers, who's going to be coming off an injury-riddled season, Sanchez, like I mentioned, Cabrera, like I mentioned, Braxton Garrett, who's hurt, and Anthony Bender.
Right.
So who knows what that looks like?
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the Astros have in store for this trade deadline. Because yeah, they're still at, they're winning the division. They're definitely in a great position to buy, as they pretty much always have been. But yeah, I mean, they've kind of throughout these, even just looking at these past, I believe, 2 trade deadlines, they've given up some young talent, whether that be, Loper Fido and a couple other guys for Yusei Kikuchi last year,
Yep.
or Drew Gilbert for Justin Verlander.
I don't see a repeat of that this year.
Yeah, it would be hard to happen, and it would be hard to see the Astros pulling that off, and also they don't really have the resources for it anyway.
No.
It seems. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And I think the Cubs might look for starting pitching as well.
The Cubs are without a doubt. I think they're probably going to land one of the 3. Merrill Kelly just seems like the most Cubs pitcher out of the 3.
Yeah,
it'd be funny if they brought back Dylan Cease. For anyone that remembers that he used to be in the Cubs organization.
Yeah, shout out Jose Quintana.
Shout out Eloy Jimenez.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Cubs starters have the 23rd best FIP in baseball. Obviously the Justin Steele injury that happened way early in the season did kind of take a toll on their roster. So yeah, they could definitely use some help in that starting rotation, because I'm trying to look at the roster resource right now. Yeah, like, Boyd's been looking great. Shota Imanaga has shown very good ability. I think Colin Ray has had some good points. I'm not seeing his stats right now. But you'd like some more experience in the rotation, I guess. A lot of the starters in the rotation don't have a whole lot of experience in starting rotations, just generally speaking. But yeah, I mean,
all right. I just decided a trade that's going to happen.
Okay.
I don't know what the return's going to be, but the Rangers are going to trade for Marcell Ozuna. I've decided that. The Rangers have a 41 weighted runs created plus from the DH position this year. That is the lowest that any team has put up since 2022, which was when the universal DH was implemented full time. The second worst team in weighted runs created plus out of the DH position since 2022?
A good question. I'm trying to think of a DH who crapped the bed. I don't know. I'll just go with a classic 2024 White Sox.
It was the 2024, but it wasn't the White Sox. It was the 2024 Texas Rangers.
Oh, wow.
They're breaking their own record right now. Now the DH position has been, for a team that, like, when they are successful, famously just like has an awesome lineup. That's just not really been the case at the offense specific position, if you will. Yeah, like I said, DH is wow. They're slashing 127, 248, 231 this year. That is absurd. The person with the most the person with the most plate appearances at DH is Jock Peterson. He actually makes up like probably 90% of them. He has 150 plate appearances at DH, and then it's Rowdy Tellez with 13, Blaine Crim with 13, Justin Fosco with 9, Billy McKinney with 8, Cody Freeman with 7. They did just get Rowdy Tellez. I feel like now that they are on such a run where they are like actually tied for a playoff spot, they're probably looking at that and being like, hey, we can actually do better than Rowdy Tellez. And I think Marcell Ozuna would be that guy. Is he a free agent to be? Is Marcell Ozuna? The Braves
I
never
think
gave
so.
him an extension.
I think the Braves like picked up his option this year, and then that.
Yeah. Yeah, so he is a free agent to be. Uh, it's a rental DH. Yeah, I mean the Rangers. It's not something where you have to give up an exorbitant amount. You know, you don't need to have a great farm system to have the best return for someone like that. So I've just traded Marcell Ozuna to the Rangers. Congratulations to Alex Antopoulos and Chris Young.
Yeah, congratulations
Yeah, huge.
to everyone there. Yeah, looking at yeah, the Rangers have been doing a little bit better as of late. They were middling for most of the season. They are currently, yeah, tied for the sixth seed in the American League playoffs, as they've won 9 of their last 10, and they're six games above 500, tied with the Mariners, half a game behind the Red Sox, 1 game behind the Yankees.
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they have like one of the better run differentials in the American League as well.
Yeah, it says on here their expected win-loss is 62 and 44, which is 6 games
Yeah.
better than their actual record.
Yeah, in run differential for the entire year in the American League, it's the Yankees at plus 93, and then it's the Rangers at plus 74, and then it's the Tigers at plus 66.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting for sure. Trying to see what might be causing that. I mean, in one-run games, they're not doing crazy bad. They're 16 and 18. So
Yeah.
I guess it's just, yeah,
Bullpen.
losing other close games. And it says they're 19 and 10 in blowouts, which, games decided by 5 or more runs. So, they're not
That
getting
makes
blown out
sense.
a lot, and you know, they've scored 15 runs 3 separate times. Where all those victories were by 12 or more runs. So they've had some blowouts for sure.
This
Yeah, the
is a
one-run
team
games
that I
haven't been
think,
the issue.
I mean, they definitely also need relievers, no doubt. Like that's something that they're going to need to do as well, in addition to getting a DH. But I mean, like, this is a team that definitely has the talent. Obviously you have DeGrom leading the rotation. Patrick Corbin's been solid for them this year, been more than just an innings eater. Evaldi, and then you got, Kumar Rocker's been struggling lately. Jack Leiter's been all right at times, but it's definitely enough to get you there. I'll say that. And
Right.
then
Yeah.
if there's anything the Rangers have taught us, it's that you just got to get there.
Yeah. I don't feel too differently about the Rangers than I did at the beginning of the year. I had them as the 6th seed in the playoffs, and that's exactly
That's what
where
they
they
are.
stand right now. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm sure maybe it hasn't gone exactly the way I thought it would go, but yeah, I mean, Seager has really turned it up over the past month or so. Been one of the best hitters in baseball. Marcus Semien is no longer one of the worst hitters in baseball, whether that be his own fault or just general luck. And so yeah, it seems like guys are kind of bouncing back. Haven't seen all the bounce back seasons I was thinking was going to happen, but they're still doing good enough to be in a playoff spot right now. So good for them.
Yeah.
Anything? Yeah. Did you,
I don't know. I
any
feel like there's a lot
other
of teams we haven't touched on. We could just kind of briefly go through some teams, and you feel like their needs. The Orioles are going to be selling. I think the big names are Cedric Mullins and Ryan O'Hearn. We obviously just mentioned a potential DH landing spot for a team. Maybe Ryan O'Hearn's an option instead of Marcell Ozuna. I still feel like that's the direction the Rangers would choose to go in between those two. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the potential O'Hearn Mullins markets?
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like first base has been talked about more than usual this year, and maybe it's because of the players on the market, maybe it's because of team needs, like specifically with maybe it's bias as a Red Sox fan because the Red Sox first baseman tore his knee up in like April, so obviously there's been a hole there. So people have been talking about that. Yeah, I mean, Ryan O'Hearn has been a pretty consistent bat over the last few years, especially or at least on the surface. I, I think, but I don't think the Orioles would get a crazy amount out of it. Cedric Mullins is just, yeah, kind of a consistent player in some ways. And
It'd be very streaky for sure. It really depends on what version of him you're getting.
yes, I would agree that he's pretty streaky.
You specifically, I'm
Yeah.
looking at you when I say that. In terms of center field, I mean, in terms of there's really no contenders here that are struggling in center field. Maybe like the Phillies. The Phillies have a 77 weighted runs created plus out of center fielders this year.
Yeah, possibly. But yeah, I'm curious. I mean, have the Phillies stopped giving plate appearances to Johan Rojas? I haven't been following.
Most of the center field plate appearances have gone to Brandon Marsh.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
But Johan 168 this year.
Okay. Um, so that makes sense.
Mm.
Because yeah, Rojas is a great defensive and base running option, but
Yep.
hitting can be an issue for him, unfortunately. And yeah, Marsh doesn't have necessarily the defensive and base running upside, but he has an 86 OPS plus this year. So,
Yeah.
but I don't know how much of an upgrade Mullins would be to that, and I don't know if it's worth moving a guy to get a very marginal upgrade there. And Marsh has kind of been there and been part of some good postseason runs there, so maybe they don't want to mess that up, but that could we can obviously get surprised by that.
The Red Sox. They're the two big storylines is get a starter and will they trade one of the outfielders? I think that's pretty much the big two, right? Is it Duran? Is it Abreu? Maybe even it's Rafaela, although I highly doubt that. It's obviously not, but I don't know. Where have you stood on the should you trade an outfielder, and if so, which one? Discourse in Boston.
Yeah, it's weird. I haven't given it quite enough thought, I guess. Because it feels inevitable. It feels like it needs to happen at some point. Maybe in hindsight, it would have been a lot better to do it this past off season. But given the circumstances, this is the situation we're in now. And yeah, it's very, as everyone knows, it's very unusual to be a contender trading major league talent in the middle of the year. But in terms of, if it helps out the Red Sox in the long term, I wouldn't necessarily be against it. Things happen. If they can get good value, if they can get a good controllable player out of Jarren Duran, I'd prefer the Red Sox if they trade Duran to get someone with 3+ years of control,
Yeah.
and not necessarily a rental. Just because, I feel like if you're giving up a guy with control, you want someone back with control. And the Red Sox also, they're definitely a contender, but I don't think it's all chips in. It's some chips or most chips in. Um, but yeah, they are also focused on creating a winning product for like the rest of the 2020s. So that is something that they want to look out for. But I'm not against them trading one of their outfielders. It's just, I want them to I want them to be smart about it. I mean, that's kind of the
I
answer.
think all signs point to Jarren Duran. He is, first of all, he's been hitting well over the last month, so his value, some of the value that perhaps was lost from preseason throughout the year when he was struggling has been built back up a bit. He, is older than Wilyer Abreu. He is a free agent sooner than Abreu, and also his skill set probably isn't going to age as well, just in the long run. So, and teams know that as well, I'm sure, So it's not like some of the Red Sox only know, but I think that's still just kind of where the signs point to. And not only that, but they just announced that Roman Anthony will be leadoff for the foreseeable future. That was obviously Durant's role for a long time. It sounds like they're really committing to Roman Anthony here in the leadoff spot, and to me, that might be a sign of Durant going. There have been reports saying he's likely going to stay with the team. That could be a leverage play. There was recent reporting from Mass Live that Craig Breslow declined to trade for Dylan Cease, Ethan Salas, and another prospect for Jarren Duran straight up. So who knows? But I think that's if they are going to trade an outfielder, which is definitely a question mark at this point. I think that's where the signs point. But ultimately, I think they need to get a starter. If you get a starter, you have a full lineup, a solid bullpen, and a complete playoff rotation between, Garrett Crochet, Brian Bayo, Lucas Giolito, and whoever you get uh for one of said outfielders. Yeah, I think that's the direction for sure. Whether it be, and I think they're going to go for one of those guys, likely Cease, since they've already been, in conversations.
Yeah, I mean, most of what we see with the Red Sox is kind of what we saw um heading into the year. Like we knew what their strengths were, we knew what their weaknesses were. We knew that their weaknesses were, or we knew that they had kind of a full outfield and an overflowing outfield, especially with left-handed hitters. And then they also had some issues with starting pitching depth and bullpen depth. Obviously, Crochet at the head of it, that's great. Chapman in their bullpen is wonderful. He was obviously an all-star. But yeah, they need to have some more depth there. And even with a surprisingly good season from Giolito, I'd like to have someone that is a little bit more reliable with a more proven track record in there. And like Walker, I don't foresee Walker if the
No,
Red Sox make the playoffs. I don't want,
no, I don't
Walker
either.
Buehler making any starts. Frankly, I don't really want Richard Fitz making starts. Brian Bayo, it's questionable. If anything, I'd want him as a 3 or 4 starter. I'd prefer someone who could be a solid, reliable number 2 um, in this ordeal. And however they get it's we'll see. Maybe the password gets dealt, maybe Duran gets dealt. We'll see how it goes.
One thing that I do want to touch on, and this is going off script. Do you have anything else for the Red Sox?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. What's the deal with the Kansas City Royals? What's going on there? Like uh they're what? How many games behind the Tigers at this point? Um they're 9 games behind the Tigers, who have been sliding lately. They are uh 4 games out of a wild card, so like not out of the playoffs, but it's definitely a long way in. Uh, I don't know how many sellable pieces they could have, but their version of buying so far, at least, is Adam Frazier, Randall Grichuk, and signing Seth Lugo to an extension, and also Rich Hill.
True. Yeah, I
Like,
didn't realize
what's
that
going
they
on
were
there? Chris Bubich is out for the year, unfortunately. That was just announced today. When is
uh,
Reagan's due back? They just
I
put
think he
Caglione on
kind
the
of
IL.
he doesn't really have a timetable right now.
That's not great. I don't love.
Yeah, it's not very good.
Yeah, he has been from today. He has been playing catch to about 105 feet and is extending to expand his throwing distance during the upcoming week. Yeah, that's not exactly a guy that's coming back soon. I know that he hasn't been performing well, but they just put Jack Caglione on the IL as well. I don't know what is the deal here? What are they doing over there?
I did not realize they traded for Adam Frazier.
They did.
Uh, 30 33-year-olds not really controllable Adam Frazier with an 85 OPS plus for the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like did you get bored? I don't see the logic.
He's like the modern day Freddie Galvis.
I mean, he was on the team last year. Maybe he was a great clubhouse guy.
Yeah, they
So
really, really liked him, I'm sure.
we always hear about like there's stuff you can't measure. Maybe that's the thing with Adam Frazier. He is just a magnet. Maybe that's the reason why they're not a playoff team this year is because they don't have Adam Frazier.
Yeah, it could be. And then Randall Grichuk, like same thing. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah, he's just perpetually on the market,
I want to throw out something
unfortunately.
wild, something a little out of the box here.
Okay.
What do you think the Royals could get if they put Vinny Pasquantino out there?
It's it's tough. I've been waiting for his breakout for a while.
See, but here's the thing, right? 672 OPS at home this year, 843 on the road.
That is true. That is a factor. And Kaufman is very widely known for holding home runs in. He's still managed
He's very controllable. He's got I think he's entering ARP this year, right? Yeah, he's entering ARP 1 this year. So you'd be getting him for this +3. Like that, if you put it like, and especially with the lack of controllable hitters in this deadline class, like I feel like there's a decent haul that you could get there.
Yeah, that would be interesting to observe, that's for sure. Um yeah, his I'm trying to see where the metrics are. Yeah, I mean his expected home runs are always a little bit higher than his actual home runs. Trying to see what ballparks he would really thrive in. Um
Cincinnati.
yeah, Cincinnati, the Rays, what
I don't think they're gonna buy.
yeah, but I mean, this could be a situation where you don't really have to be a buyer to go after him, considering how much control he has. Um, so it could just be like a deal that you would make in the off season. It just happens to be in
Yeah.
the middle of the season. Um, yeah, like I could see a weird Royals Rays trade that just doesn't really make sense to a lot of people, but might work out like down the line.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the problem is,
Um,
like the problem with that trade is I don't really know how the Royals could replace that offense, even if he's, even if on the surface he's not the greatest hitter. 756 OPS.
right. Yeah. Um,
Um, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. He is pulling the ball. His pulled air rate is as high as it's ever been this year so far, 23.3%. That's definitely good.
yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see why he hasn't succeeded. Like, average exit velocity in the 63rd percentile, strikeout rate in the 77th percentile, um, pulling a lot of fly balls. It's you would expect a little bit more success than what he's having.
I think it could be a very compelling trade.
Yeah, for sure. Especially a
Um,
team that maybe thinks he
I
could
mean,
thinks he
immediately,
could
like
fix him.
the fan in me wants to say the Reds. I just don't really know who the Reds would give up in this case because it would have to be a haul. Like this is 3 years plus
Right,
of this
right.
guy.
And
Like
unless the
Chase Burns might have
market
to put like Chase Burns might have to put on the table, and I don't know if that's something they'd be willing to do.
unless the market isn't that high on him. I mean, he is a first baseman, so like he has a 113 career weighted runs created plus. That for a first baseman, um, on its surface, I know that obviously the road numbers tell a different story, but on its surface, um, teams aren't going to be lining up to give up top prospects for that. Um, I think what would happen is, you know, a a team could think they're sneaky and not have to give up a whole lot and really try to do like an I can fix him type deal.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Royals. I don't think they would do it, and I'm not even saying they should, but I think it would be very compelling if they did.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting. Um, but yeah, it's they're not not super well known for their offense. I don't think their offense. Or I should look at where their offense ranks this year. I don't think it's great. Um, like Bobby Witt Jr. has not been the same as he was last year at the plate. It's been phenomenal defensively, but yeah, the team has an 89 OPS plus, so I don't know how many more offensive losses they can suffer. But if the return is right, they could go for it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
The
yeah,
Blue Jays, I think, gotta go trade for a starter, right?
yeah,
Maybe.
yeah.
Playoff
I mean,
rotation would be some combination of Barrios, Gosman, Bassett, Scherzer. That could play. I still feel like it could be better, right?
in 2021, that looks amazing.
Oh my God, dude. That's officially good. Yeah.
um, but but
Even
yeah,
even Eric Lauer as a 5 is pretty good.
yeah, true, true. Um, yeah, they have like a lot of like solid starters, but they don't necessarily have an ace as of now. Like Gosman was an ace a couple of years ago, but not really anymore.
I mean, I could be wrong. I feel like Gosman's been better as of late.
Probably. I mean, overall he does have a 3.67 FIP and
Yeah.
a 3.82 ERA. He's been good, but
They
not.
need, yeah, okay, maybe not. They need
His
Alek Manoah to come back. I think that's what we're saying here.
Yeah, we need that. We need that back for sure. Um, yeah, I think a starter could work out for them. Their offense has driven more of their success than their pitching, I guess. They have a 106 OPS plus compared to a 103 ERA plus, and that's also a 103 ERA plus was one of the best defenses in baseball, if I recall correctly, unless their defense has gotten bad this year. Um, but but yeah, so I guess starting pitching would be more of a need than another hitter.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there any other teams you wanted to hit on, even if it's just for like a minute or two? We haven't touched on like the Mets. We haven't touched much on the Phillies. The Cubs, I think we're pretty much in agreement. It's got to be a starter somewhere. Maybe a couple of relievers. Definitely a couple of relievers actually. Their bullpen is a bunch of, it's Daniel Palencia, Brad Keller, Caleb Thelbar, who's been fantastic this year. Palencia as well. Ryan Presley, Ryan Brazier, Drew Pomeranz, Brooks Kriske, Chris Flexen.
Right. Yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm like I guess I'm intrigued by what the Mets might try to do. Because obviously they had crazy starter success at the beginning of the year. That's dissipated a little bit in the past few months or so. So would they add a reinforcement at starting pitcher? I don't know. They've also struggled a little bit at second base and third base this year. I think they would probably stick with their guns on Vientos, but maybe not so much on Luis Angel Acuna. But I don't know what the second base market necessarily looks like right now.
It doesn't.
Yeah, there's
Maybe
not all.
maybe Ketel Marte if I don't know. Probably not even him because like I don't even think the Diamondbacks are selling to like rebuild. Like I think they're selling just being like, all right, this year's a dud. We're gonna try again next year. And trading Ketel Marte would be a
Yeah,
symbol that they're just not that they're rebuilding. Like he's on too good a contract. He has his next like option is 2031 and it's a $11 million player agent or player option.
yeah. They also they already had an extension, but they added 2 years to that
Yep.
extension.
Yeah.
Like what, 4 months ago?
Yeah, no, you can't do that. I mean, I've seen literally just on Twitter. I've not seen anything serious, but I've seen people on Twitter being like, "What if they also traded Marte with Suarez?" They're not going to do that.
Yeah, so I guess with the Mets, it kind of depends if they want another starter or not. If not, I don't think they'll do anything too significant.
Significantly, yeah. Couple
Uh,
smaller guys.
yeah, I obviously anyone could use help in the bullpen. Your seventh best guy is not going to be as good as some of the better guys in the bullpen market. So you could always add a couple of relievers. That's been kind of the Red Sox play the last couple of years.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess maybe teams that we're gonna buy that aren't buying anymore. Like I don't see the Giants buying. I don't see the Rays buying. They've kind of fallen out of that category. I don't know if the Cardinals were ever gonna buy, but it doesn't seem like they'll buy after they've kind of slid off. But yeah, any thoughts on more teams?
Um, the Phillies are going to need a closer, right? With Alvarado going down with the suspension, not being allowed to be in the playoffs.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah,
gonna be something to watch for. Um, I'm just looking at the top relievers by F4. Maybe Max gets made available by the Twins. That's probably a pipe dream. Bednar, I have literally no idea what the Pirates are going to do with him. Are they going to keep him or not? I couldn't tell you. Dennis Santana is a guy that'll probably be made available. Definitely not a guy that's going to scream closer as soon as he gets there. The only guys that could like possibly be made available that I think would scream like this guy's the closer wherever he walks into is Jackson Bednar, and still I don't even know if either of them would be available.
Right, right.
So tough market for that too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, and yeah, I think with the with the Dodgers, there's always a big move to potentially be done with LA, but a lot of their additions are going to be just from their own injured list.
Yeah, seriously.
Blake Snell is, I think, set to come back relatively soon. Tyler Glass now, I think, recently came back. Shohei Ohtani is obviously still growing his role um, as a starting pitcher. So some of the problems they've run into is just starting pitcher depth. But luckily, the guys that have gotten injured have come back in in time for that. And lineup wise, I don't see them adding much. I'm sure they could add some more to the bullpen.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be any Byron Buxton movement this trade deadline.
No.
Especially
No.
also
Not on his contract.
he's day to day. He's like injured right now, day to day. So
Yep.
that also lowers the chances of that. But yeah, I think that's most of it. Unfortunately, probably not a lot of future Hall of Famers being traded this
No.
this trade deadline,
The
like in
worst trade
2021.
deadline ever.
Yeah. Why aren't we seeing the total?
Why isn't Paul Skeens being traded in his second full year? Unbelievable. Terrible for baseball. Why isn't he on a coastal team yet? This is disgusting for the sport.
I know the Mets are in first place and just signed him to a $765 million deal, but why is Juan Soto not on the market this year? He's always on the market.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's been traded twice. You're telling me he can't get traded a third time at age 26?
With 14 and a half years
Yeah,
contract
dude,
left.
he's controllable.
Yeah, you want to talk about control.
Yeah, that guy's got control. He'll be on your team for the rest of your life.
Yes. All right, so do we want to get into players to highlight?
Real quick, there was like one of the greatest games of baseball ever played this past week. I feel like we should talk quick about that.
We should actually prelude that
Yeah.
As our player to highlight, because usually, small sample size aside,
ascended from how about that territory like very quickly.
Yeah,
which not that like the guy taken fourth overall in last year's draft I think would be available to begin with, but I mean, Jesus Christ.
When you become like a national story, you kind of get taken away from how about that.
Yeah, that's kind of how that works. Particularly random date since June 29th. Nick Kurtz has been basically the best hitter in baseball by every stretch. He leads the league in batting average at 410. He leads in OBP at 490. He leads in slugging at 988. He leads in OPS at 1478, which is higher than Barry Bonds in 2004. He leads in weighted runs created plus at 294. F4 at 2.4. Next highest is 1.8. And all of this culminated into Friday night, where he went 6 for 6 with a double, a single, a home run, and he was a triple away from the cycle, but instead he hit 3 more home runs.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
19 total bases in this game. The tied for the most in history was Sean Green in that one game in 2002 against Milwaukee.
Yeah, also something that I know, like I watched his plate appearances before the show, and he was ready to go. He was ready to swing. Like whatever was happening that night, he was seeing the ball well. The first 5 plate appearances before he faced Cooper Hummel. The first 5 plate appearances, he saw 11 pitches, swung at 9 of them. So even when he wasn't hitting home runs, he was
out there ready to hack. Yeah.
Like that's an 82% swing rate, I believe. So he was absolutely rearing to go. And yeah, I mean it worked out for him. He was making wise swing decisions, obviously, as he got 19 total bases. I should pull up some of the stats that some of the crazy stats on him. I think
it was the first game in MLB history with believe it was 4 home runs, 6 runs scored, and 8 RBI.
Probably.
Yeah, that was
Probably.
one. This is also like, the 4 home run games, obviously, where you look back to it and think that's the big one. He's been crushing it for like a while now. Um, it took him like a few weeks to hit his first big league home run. He debuted on April 23rd. He hit his first home run on May 13th and did go, I believe, on the IL since then. He didn't play from May 24th through June 9th, but over his last 51 games played, he's on a 73 home run pace. He would be on pace to tie Barry Bonds' record in a 162 game season. He has an 1174 OPS in 51 games, 23 home runs, 17 doubles, 54 RBI, 42 runs scored, 24 walks. Like, I don't even know, man. It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's
so
genuinely absurd.
basically my research is just going on Sarah Langs' Twitter.
Yeah, that's better than what most people would use.
So at 22 years and 135 days, Nick Kurtz is the youngest player since at least 1900. Well, this is actually before he hit his 4th home run. At 22 years and 135 days, Nick Kurtz is the youngest player since at least 1900 with 5+ hits, including 3 home runs in a game. And yeah, he was the youngest player by a year, surpassing Fred Lynn in 1975. And he's the youngest player to have a 4 home run game. And he has, his 19 total bases tied Sean Green in 2002 for the most in a game since 1900. So, very possibly the greatest game a major league player has ever played, at least on the hitting side.
Since May 13th, the day in which he hit his first home run, Nick Kurtz has barreled 49.1% of his fly balls. That is second in baseball among guys with 50 fly balls in that span, in between Judge and Ohtani. Something that I've been floating around for a couple of weeks now was if we do the bold predictions draft again next year, taking Nick Kurtz to win the home run derby as a bold prediction. That's not a bold prediction anymore. Like I can't use that. Like right now, he's probably the favorite. It's going to be in Philly. He's from Lancaster, PA. It's going to be a homecoming for him. And he's going to be the guy that everyone wants to see, very likely. Obviously, a lot can happen in the next, 11 months until that home run derby is done. But I don't think it'd be a bold take to say he's going to win the home run derby.
Yeah, no, not at all. Especially given what you're saying about his pace.
Shout out to me for saying like a month ago I wanted him in the derby, by the way.
That is a good take. I mean, you've been very positive on Nick Kurtz, since before this game, and it's since well before this game. And it makes me I really have FOMO now that I didn't when I went to see two Wake Forest games, he was
That he was hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, my like admiration for him goes back that far. Like I remember I did a 2023 mock draft and I had the Reds taking him 2nd overall, which he ended up going 4th. And I think some of that fall was because he got hurt. I still thought like, even if he gets hurt, like, because he came back from that injury and started hitting like Nick Kurtz again for the last few weeks of that season. I thought he was well worth taking 2nd overall. And no disrespect to Chase Burns, he's been excellent. He's a really awesome pitcher, really fun to watch, and he's definitely outside of the ERA, which will fix itself. Like he's been great, but I really thought that was going to be what made the most sense, and I don't feel like I've been proven wrong.
Yeah, and you had the take at the All-Star break that Nick Kurtz,
Yep.
albeit how
will win Rookie of the Year. Now,
albeit how far behind he was at the time, he was gonna break through and win Rookie of the Year this year.
Yeah, he would win it if the season ended today, I think.
Yeah, no, he's completely overtaken the first place position by a significant margin. And that's pretty crazy to say considering it's been 2 weeks since that episode dropped.
And it's like it's the power to all fields too. Like I talk forever and I will always do this. This applies to Nick Kurtz too. I talk about how important it is to pull your fly balls. Like Nick Kurtz is actually one of the guys where he really doesn't need to. It's like there are a select few hitters that just don't need to. James Wood is a guy who doesn't, and it doesn't matter. Nick Kurtz is a guy who doesn't do it often, and it doesn't matter. 3 of his home runs were opposite field in that game. Otani, Judge, Buxton, like all of the guys with crazy power just don't need to. It still wouldn't hurt if they did. But yeah, like and I'm sure playing, it's funny. He had like crazy home road splits for a while. I bet that one game just like completely negated all that.
Yeah, right. When you get 19
Yeah, no, he has
in
a
a
he has a
game.
1099 OPS in Sacramento and a 1029 away from Sacramento.
Right, right. Yeah, like um and yeah, like mind you also he was feet away from getting a 5th home
Oh
run.
yeah, he was very close to that. We almost had the first 5 home run game. Uh,
It
Funny
was,
thing is he also like his lefty right, his platoon splits aren't great. He has a 667 OPS against lefties, which isn't great, but that just means he has a 1204 OPS against righties.
yeah, unreal. Yeah,
That's
like Judge level against
ridiculous.
righties.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, pretty crazy. And yeah, the kid's, he's 22, so very
Yeah,
fun
exactly.
fans.
Yeah. Wait till he has his first, like I think, and I mean this is obviously a discussion for the offseason, but I tweeted this. Like, is he already the best first baseman in baseball? Like, can we crown him there? Can you put him above Vlad? Can you put him above Harper? Can you put him above Matt Olson?
Yeah, it was when you put that out, that was very thought-provoking because there hasn't been a first baseman who has really clearly stated their case this year,
No.
from the like kind of traditional garb, whether that be Harper, Olson,
Well,
Guerrero,
Harper was hurt.
or
Guerrero's starting
Freeman.
to turn it on right now. Freeman has not been very good. Nick Kurtz, I believe, is he tied with Olson right now? No, I think he's ahead of him actually.
Yeah, yeah, Olson
Yeah,
has
he literally already leads all first basemen in F4
right. Yeah, it's pretty unreal.
in 67 games played to Matt Olson, Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s 104, Alonso's 106.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
that's
so
just what the heck is that?
I think, based on what I like, if the season ended today and we had to, rank it based off of all this, I'd probably put him at least top 5, and I think he'd be in consideration for number
I'd
1.
I'd probably put him 1 right now.
Yeah, no,
And that's just because
I
I
get
mean
that.
I've obviously been very high on him for a while. Like I think that'd just be a continuation of that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like I said, like the power numbers, like it is literally Judge Otani territory.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, you just kind of see that in the numbers he's put up. I mean, yeah, when you look at his Savant page, it is bright red, especially in the average exit velocity and barrel
Helps
rate
that he hits the
odds.
ball straight away a lot.
Yeah, it does help, but I mean, yeah, as you mentioned, sometimes,
But those numbers don't. But a 613 slugging doesn't happen on accident. Like you got to be a freakishly good hitter to do that.
yeah,
A
yeah,
615 expected slug.
yeah. So, yeah, I'm excited to see him for the rest of the year, see where these numbers pull out. How this rookie of the year race has panned out, it really reminds me of 2019 when,
Even Jordan Alvarez, yeah, it was
like
like Brandon Lau, I guess, for a while.
halfway through the year, yeah, it looked really, really bland. Like it was Brandon Lau and Michael Chavis were like the
Yeah,
two guys that
and
were
Lau's been great, obviously, but
Michael
he
Chavis
wasn't
is
as loud that year in particular. But then Jordan Alvarez came in and wiped
yeah,
the floor with everybody.
and yeah, Alvarez went on a run. So that's kind of what's happened with Nick Kurtz here. Um, so yeah, yeah, very exciting.
I also love that he's doing this with a 30% strikeout rate too.
True, yeah.
Like any span you want to look at outside of the one game. Like I mentioned June 29th, where he's like just far and away the best player in baseball. He still has like a 28.9% strikeout rate in that span.
Um, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, he swings hard and swings long.
Yep.
And that's kind of what happens when you do that. Like average bat
So,
speed
yeah.
of 77.7. His swing length is 7.7 feet, which is zero point 0.4 above league average, and his average bat speed is 6.1 miles per hour above league average.
Yeah.
It's in the well, it's not qualified, but it would be like in the 99th percentile.
His average attack angle is 3 degrees higher than normal.
Right. Looking at what his swing tilt is
Very
not
high.
is 7 degrees above average. So yeah, he's definitely
He's cool.
you know exactly what he's trying to do, and it's been working out for him.
Yeah. All
Um,
right. Do we want to get into players to highlight?
yeah, with our little prelude,
Yeah.
we will get into players to highlight with our Monday, July 28, 2025 edition of Slightly Alarming Statistics. He's been barreling up the ball way less.
He's not missing bats. He's not getting the ball on the ground, and people are hitting it in the air more.
It's been so bad. He is getting a
Slightly alarming.
Yeah, that's right, Chris. And for my slightly alarming today, I am talking about a guy that was on both of our top 50s, a guy that unfortunately just, he started the year out very great, went on the injured list, and hasn't been the same since. I'm talking about Jackson Merrill from the San Diego Padres, who has just had a rough go at it as of late. Also since June 29th, same date as Nick Kurtz. He is slashing 170, 245, 261 for a 506 OPS, a 47 weighted runs created plus, and minus 0.2 FWAR. Among the 178 in the span, he ranks 6th lowest in average, 14th lowest in OBP, 10th lowest in slugging, 8th lowest in OPS, and 11th lowest in weighted runs created plus. He's basically been a bottom 10-ish qualified hitter in baseball in this span for about a month now. His K rate, his strikeout rate has gone from 20.2% before the span to 25.3% in the span. Obviously, Jackson Merrill's not a guy that strikes out a lot, so to see him striking out 25.3% of the time is not ideal. His barrel rate on fly balls has gone from 37.5% before the span, which is very good, to 25.3%, which is over a 12% decrease rather. And additionally, the barrel rate has actually gone from 37 to 27.3, a 10% drop. His line drive rate, and this is probably the worst of it because this is where Jackson Merrill's strengths usually are. He's a line drive, like double sort of hitter. Has gone from 27% before the span to 16.9% in the span, the 15th lowest among the 173 hitters with at least 50 batted balls in this span. Last thing I have on him is that his chase rate, which is already not great to begin with, has gone up to 37.3% in the span. That's the 11th highest among the 136 hitters with at least 150 pitches seen out of the zone. So Jackson Merrill, he's chasing a lot. He's not hitting the ball. He's hitting the ball in the air a lot, but not getting good, fly ball metrics, not hitting it very hard. And in return, not hitting a lot of line drives. For that reason, he is getting a slightly alarming.
Yeah, Jackson Merrill.
Slightly alarming.
My number one center fielder for 2025. Definitely not been that this year, unfortunately. I was super high on the Jacksons with high chase rates. With that,
Yeah, right.
Chorio and Merrill both being in my top 25 for best players in baseball. My slightly alarming. This was a guy who was on both of our top 10 left fielders list. Had a sensational start to the year, earned an all-star nod, but has really struggled over the past few weeks or so. I'm talking about James Wood of the Washington Nationals. He in his last 17 games is hitting 109 with a 407 OPS. Out of 183 qualified hitters in this span, he has the worst average, second worst slugging, and third worst OPS. Out of 133 hitters to see 250 plus pitches in this span, his expected batting average and expected slugging are second worst, and expected WOBA is third worst. A lot of this has to do with him not making as much contact. His strikeout rate has gone from 27% before the span to 44% in this span. Out of 183 qualified hitters, he has the highest strikeout rate, and his whiff rate has gone from 29% to 42%. And out of 133 hitters to see 250 plus pitches in the span, he has the highest whiff rate. And he has particularly struggled to make contact against sliders, as his whiff rate on sliders has gone from 40% to 70%. Also, he is hitting the ball softer. His average exit velocity has gone from 94.1 miles per hour to 89.8 miles per hour. Along with that, his ground ball rate has gone from 49% to 69%. Out of 283 hitters to hit 25 plus batted balls in the span, his ground ball rate is second highest. Also, his fly ball rate has gone from 24% to 9%. Out of 283 hitters, his fly ball rate is the seventh lowest. Due to this and his drop in average exit velocity, drop in fly ball rate and average exit velocity, his barrel rate has gone from 20% to 6%. And largely due to this, this has made him go from getting extra base hits in 11% of his plate appearances to 4% of his plate appearances, which has dragged down his slugging and his OPS, and made him, unfortunately, one of the worst hitters in baseball since July 4 in his last 17 games. So James Wood is getting A.
Slightly alarming.
And yeah, I should talk about with the ground ball rate, that does look maybe a little bit more alarming because that's something we pointed out before the season.
He's got to have that.
Yeah, considering how hard he hits the ball, generally speaking, you do want to see it more in the air, and that was a problem that we kind of saw heading into this year. We knew he hit the ball hard, hit the ball well, but hit it too much on the ground and didn't pull it enough. So yeah, that seems to be the issue that he's running into, and that's what's holding him back at the current moment. But yeah, now we will go from the lows to the highs, where we were talking players with subjects that have been outperforming expectations with our Monday, July 28, 2025 edition of How About That?
He's striking out less, walking more, and he's also making better contact.
Turning into a strikeout machine just out of nowhere.
He's been excellent all around this year.
And he is getting a...
How about that?
Yeah, so for my How About That, I am crossing a team off the list today, which leaves us with 7 left. This is the first Oriole to be covered by us this year. It is Trevor Rogers, who you're nodding like you have him too.
No, I don't have him, but
Good.
I have another pitcher, but I considered him and I didn't pick him.
Okay, all right.
Ultimately. So this
Another
is
Orioles pitcher?
No, different pitcher.
Okay, gotcha. But he I think was under kind of some sort of pressure to perform this year. Because he was obviously the Orioles, big trade piece at last year's deadline, and on top of that, Kyle Stowers has obviously been fantastic this year, and up until, probably like June of this year, this trade really looked like a dud for Baltimore. But Trevor Rogers is holding up his end of the bargain throughout the season, and he hasn't made too many starts, but in the starts that he has made, he has a 1.49 ERA, a 2.84 FIP in 48.1 innings pitched. Among the 124 pitchers with at least 40 innings pitched since May 24th, when he made his season debut, he ranks 4th in ERA, 13th in FIP, and is tied for 17th in FWAR, despite ranking 104th in innings pitched. So a lot of good value there, a lot of good innings. After being traded to the Orioles at last year's deadline, the Orioles pitching staff, or the pitching coaches, or him, decided to ditch his four-seam fastball. He was throwing it 32.8% of the time with the Marlins. He dropped it to 25.8% with the O's. But this year, throwing it a lot more. He's throwing it 41.9% of the time. And opponents are hitting 145 and slugging 210 against it. Last year, fly balls against Rogers had an average exit velocity of 93.2 miles per hour. In this span, it is a flat 90 miles an hour, which is tied for the 8th lowest among the 159 pitchers with at least 25 fly balls allowed since the day that Rogers made his season debut. And remember that list of 159 for later. Additionally, 31.3% of fly balls against Trevor Rogers this year have been hit to the opposite field, and additionally below the hard 94 mile per hour or lower, and to the opposite field. Those are usually cans of corn. He's doing that on 31.3% of his fly balls, tied for the 21st lowest rate on that same list of 159. And additionally, probably the most important thing, Rogers has had much better command of the strike zone this year. His in-zone percent has gone from 47.7% last year to 55.8% this year. That is an 8% increase. The 8.1% increase, in fact, is the steepest among the 234 qualified pitchers for the year-to-year leaderboard. And as a result, his walk rate has dropped by nearly 3%. So Trevor Rogers has been obviously controlling the zone a lot better. He's getting a lot of weaker fly balls. Because of that, is getting a how about that?
Yeah, Trevor Rogers.
How about that?
Yeah, I smile because, sometimes you kind of get down to like 2 or 3 guys that you may want to highlight, and he was one of those 2 or 3 guys, and I didn't end up picking him. So when you pick him, I'm like, great,
Yeah.
awesome.
We're covering all our bases here.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, I'm not crossing a team off the list,
right.
but I did want to highlight this guy. Because yeah, he kind of made a splash debuting in 2023, but unfortunately ran into some injury trouble, but is back this year, and it's not as big of a deal because he's already been in the league, but he's really found his stride, at least in the month of July. I'm talking about Yuri Perez.
Yes. Yep.
Of the Miami Marlins. In the month of July, he has a 1.29 ERA and 2.02 FIP in 28 innings pitched. And out of 89 qualified pitchers this month, I believe it's Perez. The accent is on the first E. So
Yuri Perez.
Yuri Perez. His ERA ranks 8th and FIP ranks 6th. Out of 111 pitchers to throw 300 plus pitches in July, Perez has the lowest expected batting average against, 7th lowest expected slugging, and the 5th lowest expected WOBA against. Lowest expected batting average against. That's very, very impressive. He had 4 starts before the span, and his strikeout rate has gone from 19% before the span to 31% in the span. Out of 89 qualifiers, his strikeout rate ranks 9th. Part of that has to do with his whiff rate going from 21% to 32%. Out of 111 pitchers, his whiff rate is the 8th highest. And his called strike and whiff rate has gone from 23% to 32%. And out of 111 pitchers, his called strike and whiff rate is the 8th highest. His walk rate has also gone from 13.9% to 4.9%. Part of that has to do with him going from throwing 50% of his pitches in the strike zone to throwing 53% in the strike zone. This has all increased his strikeout minus walk rate from 5.5% before the span to 26.2% in this span. And out of 89 qualifiers, his strikeout minus walk rate ranks 6th. Along with that, he has induced better contact for himself. His pop-up rate has gone from 6.3% to 10.9%. He's generally had the ball go in the air more. His fly ball rate is 39%, which would not always be the best, but he has gone from allowing 27% of his batted balls to be 35 plus degrees to allowing 42% of them to be 35 plus degrees. And by degrees, I mean 35 plus degrees of launch angle. Sometimes they can go for home runs, but oftentimes they're non-competitive batted balls. And that has especially been the case with Yuri Perez, as hitters are 0 for 27 against him on those types of batted balls. So none of them have left the yard. All of them have ended up being outs, which is very good for him. He has also only allowed 1 pulled barrel in these 5 starts. Largely because of this, he has only allowed 1 home run in this span. And out of 89 qualifiers, Yuri Perez's home runs per 9 is the 5th lowest. And he has largely done all of this with his 4-seam fastball, which he has used 57% of the time in this span. Opposing batters are hitting 083 with a 148 expected batting average and slugging 150 with a 271 expected slugging percentage against it in this span. This has given him a plus 12 run value on his 4-seam fastball, as obviously he's using it a lot and hitters are not doing very well against it. Not only is that the highest run value on any pitch in the month of July, but it is 4 runs higher than the next most productive pitch. So Yuri Perez's fastball has really helped him become one of the best pitchers in baseball in the month of July this year. And yeah, it's just a good sign for the Marlins. He had a lot of hype around him 2 years ago, it obviously dissipated when he had that injury, but we're still looking at, I think, a 22-year-old or even 21-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still looking at a 22-year-old here who has a 1.29 ERA in the month of July. So fairly exciting things going on for him in Miami. So Yuri Perez.
How about that?
All right.
Like if you weren't around in 2023, you have no idea how hyped up Yuri Perez was, and for good reason. And like now we're actually getting to see it, which has been awesome.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you got a 20-year-old just throwing heat and putting together a pretty productive season, it's Fernando Mania happened for a reason. It's pretty cool when it happens, but unfortunately he got Yuri Perez got injured. Yeah, any final words you wanted to dole out for before we wrap this up?
Yeah, this weekend I had the privilege of covering my second Baseball Hall of Fame induction. Obviously, this was the year of Billy Wagner, which was very special to me, CC Sabathia, Dave Parker, Dick Allen, and most notably Ichiro Suzuki. It was, I was very impressed by just how much it was the weekend of Ichiro. I, kind of figured that, with the Pirates, the Phillies, the Yankees, and to a certain degree the Mets, shows mainly, having the inductees for the other guys, there would be a lot of people driving up, making the easier trip. I would say a good like 65-70% of the fans there were there for Ichiro. There were jerseys, Japan jerseys, Oryx Blue Wave jerseys specifically, not just Japan, but like his NPB team. And it was amazing. It was an incredible weekend. The one thing that I will just, leave the audience with is if you haven't already watched Ichiro's speech, he did it entirely in English, which I was not expecting. I was very impressed by that. It was funny. It was introspective. It was inspiring. I think the way that I would best describe Ichiro's speech is come for the laughs, but stay for the real content of the speech. It was very inspiring. Like I mentioned, a lot of what he said applies beyond baseball. It's a lot of stuff that I took to heart that I have since been kind of trying to carry with me in my day-to-day, whether it be on the podcast, whether it be at my full-time job, anything that I'm doing in my life. I think Ichiro's words have really resonated and every speech was terrific. Obviously, CC had a really nice moment where he talked about thanking the women in his life who raised him. Billy Wagner talking about the adversity that he overcame, whether it be, being a 5'10" reliever, a D3 pitcher, a guy who originally threw right-handed but broke his right hand and learned to throw left-handed. Dave Parker's son gave some really touching words on behalf of his father. And, Dave obviously passed away this last June, but Dave Parker wrote like a poem to finish off his speech, which was very fun and very in character. Willa Allen, the widow of Dick Allen, had some very touching words on behalf of her late husband. Some really good stuff. But Ichiro's speech was the one that stood out to me, not just because he was the biggest name, but I was just very, very impressed by what he had to say. And it's something that I would recommend everyone watching if you haven't gotten the chance already.
Yeah, absolutely. I watched it upon your recommendation, and yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. And yeah, big shout out to Billy Wagner. We've both had the pleasure of meeting him in person. You through the Cape Cod Baseball League, me through my job as a high school sports reporter, because he is a wonderful baseball coach for the Miller Mavericks in Albemarle County, Virginia, which just happens to be where my job is. So, but yeah, I mean, just very nice, approachable person. Just and a great overall story. 12th rounder, as you mentioned, drafted out of a Division
Ferrum
II college.
Yeah, there were some Ferrum College people there, like people wearing Ferrum jerseys, T-shirts. Like that was awesome to see.
Yeah,
that to me was very cool.
He's just very well associated with the entire state of Virginia, entire Commonwealth of Virginia, excuse me. But because he went to, he grew up in a certain area of yeah, he grew up in a certain area of Virginia, then went to college in another area of Virginia, and now lives in central Virginia, where he didn't necessarily grow up or go to college. So he just kind of covers all area. So it was kind of big for Virginia in general. So shout out to him repping the Commonwealth like that. But yeah, I mean, very cool to
Obviously,
see
that one's
him.
very that one's also just connections aside. That one I think is very special for both of us. We've been both very strong advocates of his case for a number of years now, and like to me, attending the weekend is like a reminder of why I do it. Like, why do I care so much? Why do I put hours and hours and hours and hours into doing Hall of Fame research each winter, spending an incredible amount of time throughout the year deciding who I'm putting on my ballot, advocating for guys, advocating against guys. Like that's like I keep getting reminded why I do it. And like seeing Billy Wagner have his moments is a great just full circle moment for me personally.
Yeah, especially, not that the voting happened recently, but it was his 10th ballot, obviously his final chance to do it via BBWAA. Um so just a cool moment. Because we obviously knew Ichiro was going to be a first ballot guy. CC Sabathia we knew was going to be a Hall of Famer, whether it be first ballot or second ballot. Meanwhile, Billy Wagner, it was kind of a question mark for these past few years, and for a while it looked like it wasn't going to happen, unfortunately. But yeah, it's
One thing I also just like love
right.
about Hall of Fame weekend is like the random assortment there. I think is very cool. Like, like Ichiro Suzuki shouting out Dick Allen is like probably not a visual that a lot of people had in their minds before this year.
Yeah, right.
Like Ichiro going to a high school field in Cooperstown, New York, and playing catch with Billy Wagner and his kids is probably not something that anyone imagined. Uh, given that they really never played in the same league at any point, or well, at
Right.
most points. I guess Billy Wagner did play for the Red Sox once, but
Yeah, right. For a month.
yeah,
um but yeah, no, always a cool celebration of the sport, because it's the best Hall of Fame in sports.
by
It's
far.
it's it's the one that holds the most importance. So it's
Also,
good to see it get the spotlight.
also shout out to the new Yak U baseball exhibit, the Trans-Pacific Exchange of the Game. It is a new exhibit that just opened on the third floor where the old Comiskey Park thing used to be. I'm sorry, Chris, they tore that down.
No.
But I know, I know. But it's a whole section of the museum dedicated to like the exchange of culture and ideas of the game between Japan and the US. It's not just like history of baseball in Japan. It's actually like the intertwining of the two countries, which was very cool.
That
It
is
was a
pretty
very well done
spectacular.
exhibit. Looks very good. Yeah, it was great. I loved it.
I can excuse the Comiskey Park erasure for that, certainly.
Yeah.
But
To be fair, that thing never worked. I think literally the time I went with you was the only time that I ever saw the thing work.
that's funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was time.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that shall do it for this installment of Above Replacement Radio. We hope you enjoyed this one. If you were listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and want to watch the conversation as it happens, go to the YouTube channel. It is called Above Replacement Radio. Um, be sure to check out the guest interviews on the channel. We've had a cool amount of guests. There are some cool guests throughout our years doing this podcast, whether that's Jeff Passan, Chris Rose, Sarah Langs, Mike Petriello, Mark Simon 4 times, Foolish Bailey, and Matt Brash this past offseason, Mariners reliever. All that and more on the guest interviews playlist. Also follow us on social media. Follow me on Twitter @Chris_Gianta. Follow Daniel on both Twitter and Instagram @Daniel_Curran, and follow the show Instagram @Above Replacement Radio for all the show needs. We hope you enjoyed this one, and we hope to see you next time, where we will be talking all the happenings in Major League Baseball. Once again, see you then.
This conversation is over.